Hello and welcome to Time About the Movies Flashback, and today we're flashing back to October 16th, 1987, with 5 films to look at today, including a couple films starring Nick Nolte, David Mamet's latest film. We also have Mickey Rourke and Faye Dunaway in Barfly, and also John Boorman's Oscar-nominated feature Hope and Glory. But before we get to those movies, we got to talk about the biggest new release of the weekend, which is, of course, a slasher movie, because this was peak slasher film era. This is the sequel to Prom Night. Sort of. It's Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2.
Hi, Mary Lou speaking. Sorry I can't come to the phone right now. But I'm busy at the prom. Places to go, people to scare.
Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2.
Sequel to Prom Night. There's nothing about this movie that is related to the original Prom Night with Jamie Lee Curtis or Leslie Nielsen. I mean, it was originally supposed to be a standalone film called The Haunting of Hamilton High, but they retitled it to capitalize on the success of the original Prom Night, and the only story connection between the two films is that it's the same high school. Pure coincidence. It's a student who died at her prom in 1957, Mary Lou Maroney, and she's possessing a high school student in modern times, and of course, chaos and hilarity ensue. I mean, we've seen this done so many times before in the past, and this one in particular draws a lot of different modern references. Like, there's a lot of homages to, there's a lot of rip-offs, if you will. Not really homages, but to Nightmare on Elm Street. There's a lot of Carrie in here. There's even a little bit of Blue Velvet in here, which is really, really odd. But, yeah, if you've seen movies like this before, you could pretty much predict what's going to happen. I mean, the one thing this movie probably has going for it mostly is the fact that these effects are practical. I mean, they're there while they're doing this. There's not a lot of CG, so I guess that's the one thing that's pretty cool about it. But besides that, though, there's really nothing about this movie that's worth it in the end. I personally am not a big slasher movie person, so I can't really get behind these movies mostly. I know there's a fan base for them, and they probably enjoy this, but not to me. Like, even the original Prom Night, I barely remember, but I only saw it because Leslie Nielsen was in it, so in a much more serious role than he does with his comedies. But I digress. But yeah, like I said, this really didn't wow me in any way, shape, or form. But then again, that's just me. I'm not really into slasher movies that much like everybody else is. But this really was not that good of a movie overall. So why don't we get to some stuff that might actually be good? Let's start with the first movie we have here, and that is Weeds.
One was smart, one was rough, one was smooth, one was slow. This man gave them the chance to do the one thing none of them had ever done before. Succeed.
We're not losing. And we're not going to be losing.
Nick Nolte.
You changed my life.
Weeds. Rated R.
Now playing at the Man Regent Westwood and the Town Center in Costa Mesa.
John Hancock. It's Herbie Hancock. Duh. A Tommy Boy reference there. But this is Weeds. This is a film that stars Nick Nolte as a prison inmate who writes a play that catches the attention of a visiting reporter. And you also have a cast that includes Ernie Hudson from Ghostbusters, Lane Smith, Bill Forsythe, Joe Mantegna, one of 2 movies we'll see him in this weekend. I don't know if the movie's any good. I've never seen it before, but I know this is the director who did Bang the Drum Slowly and also Prancer, which we've talked about Prancer before in the past. But I don't know if it's any good overall. I mean, I don't ever hear people ever talk about it as much. Reviews for it don't look like it's a bad movie. The film doesn't look like it's a bad film overall. Just nothing really about it that looks that engaging or exciting in any way, shape, or form. So I can't really say if it's any good or not. So, quick review on that one. But excuse me. Let's go ahead and look at the other Joe Mantegna movie that came out this weekend, which I did see. And that is, of course, David Mamet's House of Games.
Ignore all other rules.
We've lost $80,000 we borrowed from the mob. I should have turned around the first moment you brought the broad.
In the House of Games, there's no one you can trust.
Who brought the damn cop?
Not even yourself. Lindsay Krause. Joe Mantegna in David Mamet's House of Games.
So in this movie, Lindsay Krause plays a famous psychologist who decides to try to help one of her patients get out of a gambling debt. She visits the bar where Mike, played by Joe Mantegna, to whom the debt is owed, runs poker games. He convinces her to help him in a game. Her assignment is to look for tells or give away body language. What seems easy to her becomes much more complex. And with a David Mamet movie, this is about exactly what you think you're going to get from it. It's a very well put together movie, a smartly written movie, a very neo-noirish black comedy with a lot of good performances from J.T. Walsh, Joe Mantegna, Mike Nussbaum, Lindsay Krause, Ricky Jay is in here as well. Co-written by Jonathan Katz. A lot to admire about the movie. If you love David Mamet's work before or after this movie came out, you're going to really love this movie in particular. And I really enjoyed this one a lot. Not much more to say about that one. It's a really good movie. One that doesn't get enough attention, honestly. It's one of David Mamet's more underrated movies, honestly, the more I look at it. But it's David Mamet. The guy usually never turns in a bad project, and House of Games certainly is not one of his bad projects. So, speaking of bad projects, let's go to a bad project next. Let's go to Mickey Rourke and Faye Dunaway starring in Barfly.
We don't have to be barflies right down to the grave.
Mickey Rourke.
Just one thing. I don't ever want to fall in love.
Faye Dunaway.
Don't worry. Nobody's ever loved me yet.
Barfly.
Okay, maybe it's not a bad movie. I'm thinking of Blue Velvet, but by David Lynch, which came actually a year after this movie before this movie did. But this is Barfly. This is a semi-autobiographical movie about author Charles Bukowski during the time he spent drinking heavily in Los Angeles, and it presents Bukowski's alter ego Henry Chinansky, played by Mickey Rourke, and it's a film where it's essentially about his exploits in Hollywood during the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and Faye Dunaway also has a role in here, as does Alice Cree. I mean, I can't really say it's a bad movie per se, but then again, it's a movie I haven't seen in a very, very long time. The only reason I really watched it the first time around was because I saw Roger Ebert's old review from Siskel and Ebert, which Ebert really liked the movie, and I think, if I remember correctly, Gene Siskel did not like it, if I remember right, but it was one of those reviews that they show on clip shows where, like, they're disagreeing on a specific thing here, and I think Roger was really thinking that Faye Dunaway was going to get nominated for an Oscar for Best Actress, and that was not the case per se. But from what I remember from the movie, I don't remember hating it, but it's one that I haven't seen in a long time, so I don't know if it's held up over time or not. But it's directed by Robert Schroeder. He's made a lot of good movies. We talked about Reversal of Fortune, of course. So I can't really say if it's a bad movie per se, but like I said, it's been a while since I've seen it. But the last time I remember liking it okay, but like I said, it's been a while since I've seen it, so I can't really say if it's held up over time or not. But let's go ahead and move on to our last film we have here, and that is John Boorman's Hope and Glory.
Presents a pay-per-view presentation of an extraordinary motion picture. It was a time of hope and dreams, and an innocence that would soon be threatened by war. When the war changed their world, they returned to a world they had known.
Different world, eh, Billy?
Coming soon, memories of a time that will live forever. Hope and Glory, rated PG-13.
So the movie is essentially based off of John Boorman's experiences growing up in London during World War II, and it tells the story of the Rowan family and their experiences as seen through the eyes of their son Billy, played by Sebastian Rice Edwards. Kind of has a little bit of a feel to Steven Spielberg's Empire of the Sun, which came out later in the year, which we've already delved into on this particular show. But this was one of the notable movies that came from the David Putnam era when he was running Sony Pictures, Columbia Pictures, excuse me. They weren't bought by Sony around that time, but this was one of those movies that he picked up, one of the smaller movies that he decided that was going to be his plan, to pick up these much smaller movies rather than these big budget movies overall. And most of them were not successes, but this is one of the ones that was very successful. It was a big critical hit, it was a commercial success, and it was nominated for several Oscars, including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Original Screenplay. And the movie works very well. It's kind of a little underrated little gem from Boorman as a director. It gives a chance to show you what this guy can do outside of his epic adventure films like Excalibur and all these other movies, but it's a very well-made film. The casting overall is very good. You got a lot of very good talent in the film, unknown talents for the most part. The look of the film is very impressive to look at. It's a very engaging storyline. You really do get invested with the characters overall. You really want to see them go on this incredible adventure that they're going on through these harsh times. it's a really good movie. It's one that's definitely very underrated. One of those great movies that did not get the proper respect back in the day, despite the fact that it was nominated for several Oscars overall. But it is a really good movie. It's a film I do recommend checking out. Definitely check it out. Hope and Glory. And so with that said, we wrap up Time About the Movies Flashback for this week. We'll flashback to October 9th of 1987 with several movies, including Someone to Watch Over Me. We also have Surrender, Baby Boom starring Diane Keaton, the comedy 3 O'Clock High. Yeah, just those 4 movies. There's 3 other ones that came out that weekend that I'm seeing on the Box Office Mojo page, but I've never seen any of them. I've never seen Man on Fire. I guess Edward James Olmos is in this one. Chuck Berry, Hail, Hail, Rock and Roll, never saw it. Dancers, never saw it. So I'm just going to cover the 4 I mentioned before. Someone to Watch Over Me, Surrender, Baby Boom, and what was the last one? 3 O'Clock High. So those 4 films I'll take a look at on the next episode. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the place on the next page. Check out some of the other episodes we've done. Hit the like button, subscribe button, notification button, because you get updates on when the videos come out when you do that. And with all of that said, I will see you guys next time. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Until then, take care.